Helen here from helenlindup.com and also speedydigital.co.uk. So today I'd like to give you some tips on how to get people to open your emails and also take action on what you put in your emails, because it's one thing to send some really good quality emails, but if nobody's opening them and then doing what you want them to do afterwards, which is often click through to your website, you're not really getting the benefits from that, are you? So here are some tips that I got from being an online English and maths teacher. Now, that may sound a bit random, but I will explain why I ended up doing that in just a minute. So the reason I ended up doing that is that towards the end of the pandemic lockdowns, I was offered the chance to be a part-time freelance distance learning English and maths tutor for adults. So I'm always up for using technology in new ways, and I'm really into e-learning, and so emails for e-learning is something that I'm particularly interested in. So I said yes. I thought, why not? I'll give it a try. I should also add that I'm a qualified teacher, so that they didn't just find me off the streets. I do have a teaching background and a teaching qualification, so that's not maybe quite as random as it first sounded. So what was I teaching then? Well, the type of course is called functional skills, and here in the UK we have qualifications that young people get at age 16 called GCSEs. Now, a lot of adults didn't get that for whatever reason, and they find that they need to fill that gap later on in their careers so they can progress, they can maybe go to university and retrain. So this is kind of filling that gap for those people who don't have those GCSEs that every school aims for young people to get at 16. So most of the lessons were delivered using a specialist online learning platform, so on that platform they would have lessons, and they would have all the course materials they needed, and then us tutors that we were there for help if they got stuck on anything, if they needed any motivation. We did marking and exam preparation, because there was an exam at the end of this that they need to pass because it's an actual qualification. So what we found is the platform itself sent some emails, but they were really basic. So they were just telling them things like, your assignment is due on this date, or it's overdue now. And we felt we could do better than that. And we felt we could help the students stay engaged with some more kind of friendly, timely emails throughout the course. We did also send some group emails from Outlook, which is not ideal, but it's all we had available at the time. So if you're sending group emails, ordinarily I would say really don't use Outlook. So sometimes we would do a live workshop, and we would just send an email to everybody to say the date and time and the link. So there were two of us, both qualified teachers and both with an IT background, which was really, really helpful. And we decided to set up some email sequences, because that would sort of free up some time that we could use working one-to-one with the students, and it would help sort of keep them engaged as they work through the online course, because with any kind of online learning you get people dropping off either straight after they sign up or a few weeks down the line when they realise it takes quite a lot of commitment to see it through. So the learners were all adults. Some had a full-time job and a family. So fitting a course in on top, it's a tough thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. So we needed to do everything we could to encourage them to stay motivated and stay on the course. It's also very tempting in that situation to just kind of ignore the email from your tutor, because you're really pushed for time. So we needed something that would cut through that and get them to sort of take some action. So it's slightly different from a normal email marketing project, but we have a lot of similar problems there. Plus we've also, challenges. Plus we also, at the end of it, have to get people through an exam, which you don't tend to normally do with most email marketing projects. So even though this looked like a detour from email marketing, it used a lot of the same skills and techniques. So here are some useful tips I picked up along the way. So the first one, if they know and like you, they're much more likely to read your email. So the learners responded better if they knew and liked us from day one. Now that sounds a bit obvious, but it's easy to miss and really important. So often e-learning is seen as quite automated, quite solo, kind of cold. So if you can offer an email that's sort of warm and chatty, then that's going to make, and in a language they would use. So it's almost like from a friend, they're going to respond better. So we were lucky in that we could start the courses by meeting them face to face. So we could build some rapport that way. But if you don't have that opportunity, anything you can do to build that rapport early on is going to really help. So, you know, listen to what they need and what their concerns are, get to know people as individuals if you can at all. And just kind of what we did, we tried to find out about their aspirations beyond learning English or maths, because as adults, most people won't want to learn maths. They want to learn maths because they want to train as a nurse. You know, it's a secondary thing to them. So we wanted to know, you know, tell us why you're passionate about going into nursing, for example. So this does apply to email marketing. If the subscriber feels that you care about them as a person, not just as a number in a database, they're going to respond better. So anything you can do to speak their language and address what's on their minds is going to help. Number two, you need a good subject line. So you could have the best email in the world, but if you don't have a good subject line, they're not going to open it. So you might think that this particular audience we were working with would be very responsive because they're studying for an important qualification, but not always. And because I got to send so many emails, I got to test a number of subject lines to see which one got the best response. So it's not going to be helpful for me to give you specific examples because it's going to be quite different in your business. But generally, the more relevant, timely, clear and concise the subject line, the more likely it was to be opened. So avoid boring generic subject lines, but do keep testing and improving those subject lines over time and watch your open rate to see that it is improving over time. Number three, create an onboarding email sequence. So as an absolute minimum, you want to send an automated email when your new subscribers subscribe to your list, because otherwise people are wondering if they've actually been subscribed or not. But you can do a lot more than that, and you can add an entire sequence of emails as well. So what we did was we found that learners were fired up after our first meeting with them, but then sometimes found it hard to stay engaged when their goals made contact with real life when they got home. So we needed a way of keeping them engaged in the very early days after they signed up. So that's not so different to any kind of email marketing. Your new subscriber clearly wants to hear from you at the point they subscribe. So you need to do all you can do to keep those positive feelings alive. So in an ideal world, we would have asked everyone to come and see us the week before the induction session that we run, where we meet them. Sorry, the week after the induction session when we meet them. But learners mostly had full-time jobs, so only a few could actually make that in. So we set up this email sequence to remind them of what they had signed up for, including the hours they were expected to study, how long the course was, and when the exams were, and how to get support if they needed it. We sent an email each week to remind them of where they should be in week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on. So it's week 1, you should be at this point. It's week 2, you should have done this by now. We also gave them some useful tips and videos on English and study skills that were relevant to what they should be studying on the course that week. So if it's the week where you're studying percentages in maths, we would include a percentages video covering the things that people tended to get stuck on most on percentages. And then we also reminded them of our names, contact details, and that we cared about them and their success. So it didn't just feel like it was coming from a machine. And you can do this with your subscribers or customers too. Don't just deliver the lead magnet when they first sign up or a paid product. Create a sequence of emails that supports them in the week as they work through the lead magnet. Or if they've just bought a physical product for you, set up an email sequence they receive as they wait for delivery of that physical product in the mail. Right, number 4, make your email really clear and easy to read. So people skim read, so make sure that they can grasp the key points of your email, even if they only read the titles and subtitles. And make your paragraph short. All of this is just real basic copywriting advice, so there's nothing new or radical there. But for me, this job brought home just what a difference it can make. So I didn't have much time to work on this. So if I could cut down the amount of chasing of people, did you get my email? Could you reply to my email? Could you respond? Can you sign up to this? Can you tell me if you can make this exam date? Any of that I could cut out was just wonderful because it freed up loads of my time. So I had a massive incentive to improve that. So if people read my emails the first time, then it made my life a lot easier. So I really experimented with how to write emails, and this is what I found. Right, number 5, put the important stuff at the top of the email. So think about what you really, really want to get across in the email and put that in the first paragraph so that even if they only read the first paragraph, they get the message, because often people won't read down to the bottom. They'll just read the top bit. Put it in there. They lose interest. They run out of time. You know, there's an absolute fire hose of information out there. You've got to grab people and within seconds. So if the key point of the email and your call to action button, let's say, is at the bottom, a good percentage of people will never read to the bottom of your email. And if you're not convinced by that, take a look at the reports in your email marketing platform and see how many clicks you have on the links at the bottom of your emails. I bet it's less than the ones at the top. So after a few months as a tutor, I worked out that the key points of the email needed to go in the introductory paragraph, then the finer points went lower down the email. Then at least I'd got the key points across, even if the student only read the first paragraph. Right, number 6, see writing in a new way. So I think it's easy to take your writing for granted, particularly if you're good at writing. So it's easier to see writing as being another task that needs to be ticked off your to-do list. You've been writing since school, so you've just, well, write. So teaching the English course in particular reminded me of the importance of the basics that we often forget, such as taking a few minutes to think about the purpose and audience of the writing before you even begin. What's the style and tone of the text? What are the key points I need to get across? And in roughly how many words how many words do I have to get that point across? And I think it also reminded me that I take my ability to read and write pretty well for granted. So many people can't read and write particularly well for a variety of reasons, from additional learning needs to English is their second language, to many different bad experiences at school, many different reasons. It really is something to be grateful for if you can read and write English well. And if you can't, there's plenty of people who can help you. But a reminder to be grateful is always good. Number 7, stay fresh. So I didn't really plan to teach English and maths online, but it gave me a new perspective. I got to meet and support many people I never would have met otherwise, many of whom had been born outside the UK and moved here as adults. Yes, even though it's really designed for people who've been through the British system, there are plenty of people who have maybe been in the UK for 10, 15 years whose English is and maths is absolutely fine for doing these courses. So one of the high points was delivering the speaking and listening exams, because I was actually marking spoken exams, where the students had to deliver presentations on a subject of their choice. So I learned so much, right from where to grab a bargain in Bangkok to skiing in the south of Poland and even laser hair removal, which was really fascinating. I wouldn't have thought about it before doing this, but it's absolutely fascinating. So if you ever feel uninspired about what to email your subscribers, maybe you need to try something new or to speak to someone entirely different from your usual people. I think so much of the advice on email marketing is data or tech driven, but none of that will have any impact unless you remember you're writing to human beings. I hope here that I've given you some ideas on how to email like a human being while making the best use of your technology. Thanks for listening. If you need any help in setting up the emails for your own online course or membership or any online learning program, that's something I can help you with. Please go to helenlindop.com and just drop me a message there, or you can comment on this video. See you in the next video. Bye.